A second round of peace talks begins between Ukraine and Russia. The search for Nancy Guthrie continues, and a YouTuber's horror film steals the weekend box office. I'm Daily Wire Executive Editor John Bickley with Georgia Howe. It's Thursday, February 5th. This is Evening Wire.
The search for Nancy Guthrie has stretched into its fifth day. Daily Wire reporter Lyndon Blake has the latest on the case.
We now have a timeline of Nancy's disappearance from her Tucson area home. Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos said after returning home at 9:48 on Saturday night, Nancy's doorbell camera was disconnected at 1:47 a.m. At 2:12 in the morning, a person was detected on her camera. And at 2:28 Sunday morning, Nancy's pacemaker disconnected from her phone. Still no suspect or person of interest in this case, but we learned more about the ransom note Savannah Guthrie and her siblings responded to Wednesday night. The ransom note we mentioned yesterday, which threatened Nancy's life unless the family sent millions of dollars, also talked specifically about Nancy's Apple Watch and floodlight. The Guthrie family decided on their own to respond, and they demanded proof of life. But as of Thursday evening, no communication has been made with the authors of the note. To learn more about this case, join me on the new podcast episode, Finding Nancy Guthrie. It's available on the Daily Wire website and the Daily Wire Plus podcast channel. We have a link in the description.
The feds have arrested the cross-dressing Antifa terrorist who threatened to kill ICE officers in Minneapolis. Daily Wire immigration reporter Jenny Terr has more.
Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche announced Thursday that federal authorities arrested Kyle Wagner, a self-identified cross-dressing Antifa leader in Minneapolis. Following the fatal shooting of anti-ICE activist Alex Preddy, Wagner allegedly told his followers to take up arms and attack law enforcement, saying, quote, "Show up ready to go, not talking about peaceful protests anymore." Following the arrest, Blanche wrote on X, quote, "Conspire and threaten to assault, kill, and dox officers, and you'll find yourself in federal custody facing the full force of justice." Wagner was also seen in videos wearing women's clothing. He said, quote, "I do this all year, all the time. I like to get real clean and pretty and go out." Wagner has since been removed from social media as well as the Venmo app, which he used to ask followers for donations for his, quote, "emergency freedom and defense fund."
The Trump administration just expanded the president's direct authority over career bureaucrats. While the president has traditionally always had at-will authority over political appointees, certain career bureaucrats have expanded protections from disciplinary action or termination. The new rules from the Office of Personnel Management would grant the president oversight authority of any career government employee whose duties directly relate to executing the president's agenda. This means he could now be able to fire some 50,000 employees whose jobs were previously protected.
The nuclear weapons cap treaty between the U.S. and Russia formally expired today. So the two nations now no longer have a limit on the number of nuclear-armed missiles they may deploy. President Trump has signaled that a new agreement could be reached, though he has said the terms would need to be reconsidered. He's also recently said he wants to restart nuclear systems testing in the U.S., arguing that Russia and China are doing the same in defiance of international treaties. Although the deal officially ended today, Russia suspended its participation in the treaty in 2023 amid its war in Ukraine.
HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and Tennessee's Republican leadership met yesterday to address the state's health issues. Daily Wire assistant editor Andy Valdez has more.
Kennedy stopped by the Tennessee State Capitol on Wednesday for a meeting with Governor Bill Lee and other GOP leadership as part of his Take Back Your Health tour. During his speech, Kennedy spoke about various initiatives the Trump administration had launched to invest in rural health care, remove harmful additives from food, increase pricing transparency, and study the dramatic increase in autism. According to HHS, Tennessee ranks 44th in the nation in terms of overall health due to drug overdoses, chronic health problems, smoking, physical inactivity, premature death, obesity, and preventable hospitalizations. Part of reversing this trend is eating better food, one of the reasons why Kennedy's HHS flipped the food pyramid last month to recommend whole foods, prioritizing healthy fats and protein, and limiting or avoiding ultra-processed foods. Here's Kennedy at the event.
Our job is not to tell Americans what to eat. It's to tell them what's good for them and to give them good information. If you want to drink a Coca-Cola or eat a Krispy Kreme donut, you live in America, you ought to be able to do that. But we're going to tell you what the cost is. It seems cheap at the grocery store. The long-term cost may not be worth it.
The Trump administration is assembling a new trading bloc to stabilize critical mineral markets and counter China's dominance. Vice President J.D. Vance discussed the initiative yesterday at the inaugural Critical Minerals Ministerial, hosted by the State Department and featuring representatives from over 50 countries. The event was held just 2 days after Trump announced a new initiative called Project Vault, which aims to create a stockpile of critical minerals. Here's Vance at the event.
So this morning, the Trump administration is proposing a concrete mechanism to return the global critical minerals market to a healthier, more competitive state. A preferential trade zone for critical minerals protected from external disruptions through enforceable price floors.
This episode is sponsored by Brickhouse Nutrition. You've probably heard about those weight loss injections that everyone's been talking about, and for good reason. The results can be pretty incredible. They work by helping regulate blood sugar and keeping your appetite in check. But here's the thing, not everyone wants to deal with weekly injections, especially when you start hearing about some of the side effects that can come with them. That's where Lean comes in. It's a weight loss supplement developed by doctors, and people are seeing some really impressive results. The ingredients in Lean are backed by research showing that they can help lower blood sugar, turn stored fat into energy, and reduce those constant cravings that make dieting so hard. This stuff is no joke. I am one of those people that eats sometimes a lot when I'm stressed. But once Lean came into the picture, I was able to rein in my cravings. Let's get you started with 20% off and free rush shipping so you can add Lean to your healthy diet and exercise plan. Visit takelean.com and enter WIRE for your discount. That's promo code WIRE at takelean.com today.
A second round of peace talks between Ukraine and Russia began Wednesday in the United Arab Emirates. Negotiators from the U.S., Russia, and Ukraine spent about 5.5 hours behind closed doors yesterday, but would not disclose what was discussed. The talks follow new attacks by Russia against Ukrainian power grid infrastructure, which have left at least 6 people dead. The sticking points: Russia does not want NATO troops in Ukraine as a security guarantee, and Ukraine refuses to surrender territory. Whether either side will budge remains to be seen.
The feds are investigating Nike over claims of discrimination against white employees. Here's Daily Wire reporter Zach Jewell with the details.
The Trump administration asked a federal court on Wednesday to compel Nike to produce information on its diversity, equity, and inclusion goals going back to 2018. The U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission said in a court filing that it is investigating allegations that Nike discriminated against white workers and job applicants to carry out its DEI objectives. Nike also faces accusations of, quote, disparate treatment against white employees in layoff decisions. Nike refused to comply with a subpoena asking for the information, according to the commission, which has now filed an enforcement action in a federal court. A Nike spokesman told the Daily Wire that the federal government's action, quote, feels like a surprising and unusual escalation. The spokesman went on to explain how Nike has shared thousands of pages of information and detailed responses to the EEOC's inquiries. The commission's chair, Andrea Lucas, said in a press release, quote, the EEOC will take all necessary steps, including subpoena enforcement actions, to ensure the opportunity to fully and comprehensively investigate.
The Department of Homeland Security says the New York Times denied a request to buy a full-page ad highlighting notable ICE arrests in Minnesota and gave no reason for the refusal. The ad would have included 30 mugshots of suspects arrested in Operation Metro Surge, specifically those with additional criminal convictions ranging from domestic violence to rape and homicide. The proposed ad declared, quote, these are some of the 10,000 criminals ICE law enforcement has risked their lives to arrest in Minnesota. Sanctuary cities like Minneapolis protect criminals instead of handing them over. It continued with a tagline that read, ICE saves innocent lives.
A YouTuber proved Disney and Hollywood wrong this past weekend, winning the box office with his independent horror film. Daily Wire entertainment reporter Amanda Harding explains.
YouTuber Mark Fishbach, known to his nearly 40 million subscribers as Markiplier, raked in nearly $18 million with his independent film Iron Lung. The film was #1 in America for most of the weekend, taken over on Sunday by Sam Raimi's Disney-produced Send Help, which grossed $19 million, but also appeared in nearly 400 more theaters. Hollywood outlets omitted Iron Lung from many of its headlines, crowning Send Help the winner of the weekend and opting to then discuss Amazon Studios' Melania, which came in third overall. When asked about this by The Hollywood Reporter, Fishbach said, quote, there's still a stigma against YouTube. One of the reasons why I really wanted this to work is to help move that mountain. Iron Lung was produced, written, directed, edited, and starred Fishbach, working on a budget of just $3 million.
The Federal Trade Commission has hired a lawyer fired by New York Attorney General Letitia James after she spoke out publicly against transgender procedures for children. Daily Wire White House correspondent Mary Margaret Olahan was the first to report it.
Glenna Goldis will work as a senior litigator in the Bureau of Consumer Protection, a person familiar with the matter told the Daily Wire. She will spearhead investigations into any potential harms from so-called gender-affirming care. Goldis, a self-described lefty lesbian lawyer, previously served as Assistant Attorney General for James, who has earned a reputation for herself as one of the most liberal and anti-Trump attorneys general in the United States. Goldis lost her position in James' Consumer Fraud Bureau after she spoke out against dangers of so-called treatments like puberty blockers and cross-sex hormones for minors. In July, the Daily Wire first reported that Goldis had participated in an FTC roundtable on trans procedures in her private capacity.
And since we just heard from Mary Margaret, now's a good time to note that the White House Correspondents Association just unveiled its new seating chart for the White House briefing room, and the Daily Wire is now one of a handful of news outlets granted a seat in the redesigned room. Mary Margaret became the Daily Wire's first ever White House correspondent just over a year ago, marking the beginning of the Daily Wire's Washington, D.C. operations. There are very few seats in the briefing room, and reporters without set spots must arrive early and stand in the aisles, often for hours. But now the Daily Wire has a seat of its own.
Those are your drive home updates this evening. To learn more about these stories, go to dailywire.com. And in case you missed it earlier today, we covered some major stories, including major medical organizations turning against transitioning minors, the border czar drawing down federal agents in Minneapolis, and talks breaking down between Washington and Tehran. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back tomorrow morning with another full edition of Morning Wire.